wants to dance and drink all night. Well, there's no one that can stop her.
You're listening to Allman in the Morning, Common Sense Radio.
So, yes, I think we've come to the conclusion. There were so many great moments in the State of the Union address last night, but I do believe that this was the top, the feel-good statement of the decade.
My duty and the sacred duty of every elected official in this chamber is to defend Americans, to protect their safety, their families, their communities, and their right to the American dream. Because Americans are dreamers too.
Yeah. Congressman Jason Smith, dear friend of ours, and in the audience there, of course. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Jamie. How are you?
Good. How did that feel?
You know, it was remarkable. I was part of the president's escort committee to walk him in, and before the speech, had an opportunity to talk to him for a while. He was so relaxed. He was himself, and then he came in there and delivered an incredible speech. And I thought he spoke directly to the American people and explained and recapped all the successes of last year, which, of course, the national media would never give him credit for. And then he laid out such a long list of items that should be very bipartisan. I mean, something I don't know if you saw on TV that just resonated with me when the president was praising record low unemployment for African Americans and Hispanics, and you see the Black Caucus sitting there not even clapping. I was like, this is just too much.
Oh, it really was. It's such a shameful moment, and it just goes to show you that they really just simply don't want to see this president, and for that matter, it seems this country move forward and be successful. I mean, and that's really, it's sad. You know, I mean, it's almost too easy to criticize, but they make it so. It's really depressing. It should be for the Democrats, at least.
It's not the policies that seem like that they are pushing back against. It's him. They just despise him, and they go into their Trump tantrums that they can't see the good that's happening for the people that they believe in and the issues that they believe in. There were items that the president said in his address last night that I have heartburn with, but you know what? So much of the stuff that he said, I strongly, strongly support. And he said the things that I had heartburn with are things that they should support, and they just sat there and wouldn't even put their hands together.
Oh, I know. I mean, especially with the whole DACA and the amnesty and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I mean, he's making a great deal of sacrifices in terms of policy just to get other things for us. But that's kind of what I think needs to happen, even though, as you point out, it's heartburn-inducing sometimes. But the reality is, in order to get some things, you got to give this, but it's still hard to take. But nonetheless, I did notice that the speech, you know, every time he talked about a policy, he had an example of it sitting in the Capitol. I mean, it was, or you know, whether it be with the North Korean situation or with the immigration situation, he had pure and simple, true life examples with him.
I don't know how it came across on TV, Jamie, but being in the House and the personal stories and the people that were there, it was absolutely phenomenal. It tore at your heart, whether it was Otto's family, whether it was a young man from North Korea, when he raised those crutches, you just felt it. And the what we fight for and what we stand for as a country of freedom, I mean, it just rained in there, and just the story after story of the examples of the heartfelt stories, just incredible.
Yeah,
really incredible.
And I know as congressman from the 8th district, I know that much of what it was overwhelmingly supportive of President Trump in the election, And I know that it must be very satisfying for an individual like you. And I'm so glad that you were part of the escort committee there too, as well, because I think you worked hard for him, and working hard for him meant really you were just working hard for your people. So it must be very satisfying to see some of the fruits of that labor.
You know, and it is, Jamie, and seeing the recaps of last year and the conservative issues that we've been fighting for in southeast Missouri, his highlight of deregulation, he's deregulated more items than any president in the history of our country. It's actually, for every new regulation, he's taken 22 off the books, the largest tax cut in American history. We haven't reformed the tax code in 31 years. Gorsuch to be on the United States Supreme Court. He's been filling the U.S. Circuit Court with great conservative judges. I mean, the list can go on. These are things that we strongly believe in, we have fought for such a long time, and he's delivering on it. Think about his speech. He went after so many items. He went after Guantanamo Bay. He went after prescription drugs. He went after infrastructure, immigration. I mean, he never stops working.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty amazing. And, of course, even with the opioid issue, that's a issue affecting a lot of individuals in your district as well. And Jason Smith, thank you so much for being with us. Really, really proud to have you on board with us, and happy for you that you were such a big part of last night's festivities, so to speak. So, Congressman Jason Smith, thank you so much, my friend.
It's an honor as always, Jamie. Take care, my friend.
You too. At Rep. Jason Smith on Twitter. It's Common Sense Radio.